Ukraine and the US have reached a consensus on several key issues aimed at ending the war with Russia, well into its fourth year, but territorial controls remain a sticking point. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says disputes over territorial concessions of the eastern Donbass region remain unresolved. The future of Ukraine's eastern region remains at the heart of the talks, with the Kremlin, who occupies the majority of it, deeming it necessary to establish a security buffer zone. Zelensky says ceding Ukrainian land is not acceptable, as Russia continues to pile pressure and looks unlikely to back down from its maximalist demands. Another contentious issue, according to Zelensky, is management of Europe's largest nuclear power plant, which Kyiv is unwilling to allow Russia to control. The US has proposed a consortium with Russia and Ukraine, each controlling equal stake in the Zaporizhzhia plant. Zelensky has, however, countered with a US-Ukraine joint venture, under which Washington would decide how to allocate its share, assuming it would go to Moscow. The Ukrainian president says that despite a lack of agreement on the key points, most issues have been brought closer together. He added that a response is expected from Moscow in the near future.
1 year has passed since the devastating Azerbaijan Airlines plane crash, which killed 38 people and injuring 29 others. The plane shot down by Russian air defenses marked the first disaster of this magnitude in the carrier's history. Among the survivors was Zulfigar Asadov, who worked as a flight attendant for 36 years. He now works as an inspector. Each day he visits a memorial with photographs of his colleagues who lost their lives in the crash.
Bu yaxınlarda biz Aktaş şəhərinə səfər etdik. Anda mənə həmin yerləri görəndə biraz təsir edici oldu. Hadisəni elə bir yenidən mən yaşadım.
Asadov can still recall the panic on board the plane in the moments leading up to the crash, even 12 months later.
Hisslərimi arxa plana keçirməyə çalışdım. Bacardığım qədər faydalı olmağa fokuslandım.
The flight was en route from Baku to the Russian city of Grozny when it crashed in Aktau on Christmas Day. Survivors say they heard an explosion followed by what looked like shrapnel hitting the plane, damaging the fuselage. 1 year on, survivors and relatives of those who lost their lives in the crash continue to seek justice as investigations remains ongoing.
YouTube'da başqa mənbələrdən görünür ki, bu qəsdən vurulub samolyot. Bir il uca yaxınlaşır o hadisədən. Bu yaxınlarda hər halda bir nəticə çıxardıb və günahkarları üzə çıxardıb onları məhkəmə qarşısına çıxarda biləcəklər. Azərbaycan xalqı da onu gözləyir. Vəfat edənlərin və yaralıların da, yaralı olan insanların da bütün qohumları bunu istəyirlər ki, həqiqət öz yerini tapsın. Gəldim Leyla gilə, oğlumun həyat yoldaşı ilə. Gördüm, insanlar yığılıb bura nə qədər. Dedim, nə məsələ dedi? Dedi ki, bəs İsmail qəzaya düşüb və orada həlak olub. Çox ürəyi açıq, dosta qiymət verən, ailə üzvlərinə qiymət verən, onların, məsələn, həmişə xeyrinə işlər görən bir insan idi. Ailəsini, oğlumu tanıyırdılar, zənglər oldu, mesajlar göndərildi.
Azerbaijan revealed that the aircraft was struck by fragments from a Russian air defense missile, causing the fatal crash after extensive investigations. 1 day after the crash, Azerbaijan officials revealed to Euronews that the damaged aircraft had not been allowed to land at any Russian airport despite the pilot's requests. Moscow initially denied any involvement and suggested the crash was possibly caused by a bird strike. Russian President Vladimir Putin did end up apologizing for the incident, but stopped short of acknowledging responsibility. Almost a year later, Putin admitted Russia's air defenses, which aim to target and thwart Ukrainian attacks, were responsible for shooting down the aircraft. Azerbaijani President Ilham Aliyev, who threatened to take legal actions against the Kremlin, has called on Moscow to provide compensations to all victims and parties affected by this tragedy.